Okay, looks like the stream is doing okay. We have lighting. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. Well, we know that YouTube is working. Good. So we'll turn that off. All right, guys. So welcome to the halving. Congratulations, we made it. It's been a 4-year process. We just got into the halving. This is the bitcoinblockhalf.com page. They're being silly about it, talking about the moon and there's a Lambo on the moon and all that fun stuff like that. So first, before that, let's go into the weekly finance for the projects where I have my skin involved. So we're looking at Hive. Hive seems to be taking the lead in between the competition between Hive and Steemit. I think that's good. Because they save themselves from a power grab from Justin Sun, as well as they seem to be turning a lot of lemons into lemonade. So that's very good. As you can see, the process of writing articles and collecting is very good, along with the community called Backscratcher, which allows the whole community to curate your writing, which allows you to make an income. So if you're a content creator, this is one way you can actually make a little more cash off of what you do, especially if you already have an audience. This is Steemit. Steemit's a little bit lower right now. It's actually hard to withdraw off of Steemit now since they no longer have block trades and some of the major exchanges, but it's still doing what it does, still making a daily income, and life is good. Moving on to decentralized finance. Celsius Network is still making me weekly interest right now. Unfortunately, because the price of Bitcoin went down, so did the interest for the altcoins. Again, Celsius Network is the best for altcoins. Moving on, BlockFi. This is about 1 week of interest accrued on the platform. This is the best place to put Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USD coin for the highest percentage. It pays out monthly though. And lastly, we have FreeBitco. FreeBitco is the best Bitcoin faucet around. They pay out 4% a year. And as you can see, they are chugging along. Through them right now, I'm making about $4 to $5 a day, as well as monthly interest and yearly interest, and they compound daily. So again, if you're interested in using decentralized finance, if you want to start from zero, if you don't want to put any money in, FreeBitco is the best way to do it. You can withdraw, you can get Bitcoin daily, hourly, and it compounds once you're over 0.0003 Bitcoin, which isn't too hard to reach. Now, that said, BlockFi is the best when it comes to larger amounts. If you had money that you wanted to make 6 to 8% on a year, BlockFi is wonderful for that. And lastly, if you have altcoins such as XRP, Litecoin, and more, Celsius Network has the best percentage rate for those, and they pay out weekly. Again, these are wonderful platforms, and links are in the description below. Now, let's move on to the main subject of this, which is the halving. So what is the Bitcoin halving? We've been talking about it for months. It's been looked forward to for years already. And after such a long wait, today on May 11th, we have hit it. Well, as you can see, this is the countdown for the next halving. This is a little over 4 years, about 2024 at some point it should hit. But why does this matter? Why does the halving matter? Well, let's look at this chart real quick. Again, bitcoinblockhalf.com is responsible for this chart that is made. So the blue line is the amount of Bitcoin that is in circulation. So as we go up, this is about a projection of what miners have been doing for the past few years. We are here. So we are a little bit above 18 million coins. And as we go, there are less Bitcoin produced. So just the last about 3 million, 19, 20, 20, yeah, 3 million or so. And this is the inflation rate in percentage of the Bitcoin produced. So this is when it first started. This is the first halving. And this is the second halving. And now we just hit the third. Okay? So this is the supply side of things. If we get closer, we're going to look at the actual percentage in numbers here. So we are currently at 1.8% or 900 Bitcoin generated per day. Now, why this is important is last halving, Bitcoin was challenging the inflation rate of the dollar. Now Bitcoin is in direct competition with the inflation rate of gold, and it's going to win this competition. If not now, then definitely in the next 4 years, making it the most hard form of store of value. So that's important for people who, again, are trying, especially right now during this situation, trying to keep their purchasing power intact. Um, while banks are giving 0% per year. Another reason, again, if you want decentralized finance, banks are giving 0%, and your hard earned money is being inflated by the government printing trillions of dollars. Um, so, the reason why the price is affected, which, by the way, Bitcoin is really about the protocol and its safety and that it's resistant to government intervention. It's undebasable. You can't make more than 21 million. Now, the undebasable part is what affects the supply shock, right? Because you can't print any more Bitcoin. So there are 21 million Bitcoin total, right? Let me just make sure my mic is doing okay. Let's put on a little soothing music while I explain this. All right. By the way, if you're watching right now, you can actually type to me. In the annals, if there's nobody on, you can ask any questions. But anyway, so supply shock and the market effect. So the amount of Bitcoin that is being produced by miners, or I should say being found by miners, has been cut in half. Well, what if you don't know anything about the process of how Bitcoin is mined? Okay, so what is mining? Mining is processing transactions for Bitcoin by solving algorithms. So every time a miner solves an algorithm, that is so many blocks, and in a block are so many transactions. As they do that, they receive fees for mining that Bitcoin, and on top of that, they are likely to find some Bitcoin on top of that. So that's how they make their profit. And the average miner is probably going to store a small amount of that Bitcoin away and sell the bulk of it to exchanges. So as you can see, miners are here, exchanges are in the middle. Now exchanges, which could also just be a large private buyer. So maybe there are people who are approaching mining factions and going, I want 30,000 Bitcoin, please. I am the prince of yada yada. I'm this country. And they probably have the same priority as an exchange. But let's say you're a Binance or a Coinbase and you have access to miners. Well, they're going to get the bulk, right? So exchanges receive that Bitcoin, and then from there, smaller buyers like you, me, and other people on the street go to exchanges to buy our Bitcoin, and that could be, again, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, you name it, even maybe local Bitcoins or something like that. So you can buy the coin there. Now, what's going to start to happen is that starting with the miners, there will be less Bitcoin going to the exchanges. And that eventually will trickle into all the other buyers, including retail. Um, and then it's going to affect what's called the stock to flow ratio. So this is a visual representation of what happens when that happens, right? So over here, you have the price, you have different forms of the stock to flow model, and you have one other metric. This is interactive. So I'll do this time frame between the last halving and our current one. All right. So basically, just mathematically, through pure mathematics, is this upper one, the purple line. Um, you see how it goes straight up and over. So mathematically, that is the new stock to flow, right? But, however, you have a more averaged one on the bottom. Now, if you notice, the actual price of Bitcoin tends to follow that average. Well, what's happening with that average? Well, that average is the amount of time it takes essentially for the supply shock to hit. Now, why does the supply shock hit? Well, let's look over the 21 million coins. If around 15 to 17 million are owned, and there are only about a million kind of floating around, then the demand is higher than the supply, and that takes the pressure off the price. And here's another chart showing that. So this is not verbatim. This is just a loose chart. Don't use this for anything other than just the general idea of what I'm talking about. So the halving just happened today, May 11th, right? 5/11. Here's the green line. Ooh, pretty. Please appreciate my MS Paint pictures. I didn't want to go into Photoshop and do it. Anyway, so again, this isn't necessarily the actual movement of Bitcoin, but this is what a lot of us who've been in the space for 4 years or more or have been watching since 2013 think is going to happen. So you have the price, and here's it is at the halving. So again, the first people who are going to be affected are the miners and then the exchanges. So what you're going to have is around this time, and this could be about, again, half a year to a year or more. That's why a lot of people are saying the price will rise by Christmas, right? The halving itself is just the start of a longer process. We're excited that the process started, but it's not going to cause fireworks other than maybe whales selling the news, right? So we expect there to be doldrums and dips for another 6 months to a year, easily. And this is represented by, again, the way I've kind of made this kind of smooth averaging line-ish, right? So what starts to happen is as the miners lose the ability to sell off their coin, which is double the amount. It used to be double what it is now. They lose the ability to sell that much. They are actually a downward pressure on the markets, right? So as they go away, that pressure starts to lessen. When that pressure starts to lessen and there's less Bitcoin in the market, then supply and demand start to take over. So suddenly, if everybody in the market is buying the same amount and half of that goes away, then the price has to go up. It takes half the amount of effort to keep the price where it is than it did before, making the price go up. In fact, another channel, I believe, explained that the largest downer on the price will now be fees from exchanges, which they use to support their exchange. So, for example, Binance charges you 2% to market trade or something. This isn't actual figures, but they charge you 2% for a trade. So that fee will be converted back into dollars, and they pay for their exchange in dollars, right? Until we have more things denominated in cryptocurrency, that will just be the case. So the exchanges themselves are now causing more downward pressure than miners were for the last 10 years, 11 years of Bitcoin's existence. Which, by the way, on a side note, it's one reason why I hold and not trade. It's a taxable event, and it drives the price of your coin down. So the more we speculate, greed kills everything. But whatever. Anyway, so the downward pressure lessens, and then we enter, so this is accumulation, right? And this is the hope phase. So we start to gain confidence that, oh, it's starting to happen. The miners have sold their previous supply. As the difficulty to mine it changes, some of the smaller miners are coming back in, the hash rate rises. These are all different metrics to analyze how Bitcoin's doing, right? And it starts to go up, starts to go up, starts to go up, and then we're going to start challenging the all-time high, most likely sometime around next year, possibly by Christmas at the earliest. But again, I don't have a crystal ball, who knows, right? So we challenge it, and we dip again, because again, once you reach a huge milestone of support, then it tends to bounce off because, oh man, people are taking profit, people are selling. And then once we actually cross it, that's when you'll see Bitcoin on the news. That's when you'll see everybody going, oh man, get in right now, it's going up, yada yada. But that whole process started a year earlier. And that's why the halving is so important, why it's so important to have had yourself in the market around the time of the halving, or as early as possible as you could, because this is what the start of the super cycle is probably going to look like. What is a super cycle? Well, let's go back to this chart. This was the last super cycle. Essentially, it's from halving to halving with a little bit more depending on your philosophy. Some people think it's lengthening. So the last super cycles have been around 4 years. Because of exchanges, some people think that will push it a little bit farther, maybe 4.5, maybe 5 years, right? And also, it's the natural product of Bitcoin becoming a more mature currency, a more mature asset, a more mature store of value. So all of these things, coupled with the amount less being produced, the gains and the way they have responded will be different a little bit each time. But anyway, so this is a super cycle, right? So the last halving was right here in 2016, and this most recent halving, the one that we just had today, obviously is 2020. So that's roughly 4 years, right? And each time the stock to flow changes instantly, boom. And then it takes a while for the average to catch up as the exchanges and the miners catch up. Now, the reason why everybody's paying attention to the next year or so is once it passes its all-time high, which in the case of Bitcoin was 1,000 in the last halving. So that was 2013. I remember hearing on the radio them talking about on KPCC NPR if you're in LA. Woo! They were talking about the halving at about $1,000. I was actually running supplies and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like whatever, it's $1,000. Cool, whatever. I was overseas in Japan when it hit its low of around it's around here actually, yeah, around 4 to 600. And when I actually started buying Bitcoin, I was in Colorado, and I caught it around the where is that? Around the $700-900 mark. When someone posted about it, I'm like, it's time to just put a couple dollars in and see what happens. Lo and behold, I caught essentially the accumulation phase before the FOMO phase. There we go. So I got lucky, right? Now, as you can see the chart here, it tends to go up, 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 up. We pass the high and we hit the FOMO phase hard. That's when people go, oh man, I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to put it into Bitcoin. All right, let's go. Which, by the way, please don't do that. But, I'm not here to give you investment advice, but yeah, don't put your house into Bitcoin. That's a little too risky. You know, risk comes reward and ruin. Anyway, so the high of this one was around 20K. So should we start battling 20K again and we pass it, that's when the FOMO phase will happen. That's when, your family members, your brother, your sister, your everyone, people will contact you who you haven't talked to in 5 years. So, Bitcoin passed its all-time high. What should I, and it's a super exciting event. Um, you know, and recently we have we have people who've been buying for 4 or 5 years preparing for this halving, people who missed the last one, who are large investors. We have large firms like Fidelity, JP Morgan, who've been buying it up. They've been keeping an eye on it. People have been preparing for this for years, and the news hasn't really talked about it. It's very interesting. Every once in a while you get little tidbits. you know this is a generational handing off of wealth in the way it's going, especially as right now it proves itself as a store of value. A couple years ago when I first got into the space, people were doubting, oh, this isn't a store of value. There's no way. Now it's almost without a doubt a store of value. Now that you have hedge fund managers getting into it, that's where the smart money is. And this isn't about greed. This is about maintaining your purchase power. This is not a get rich quick scheme. It's actually just math taking place in front of you, and you can go for the ride. Now, that said, where people think this could go varies. Could be the lowest, some people say, are around 27,000. Again, price predictions are price predictions. Who knows? We don't have a crystal ball. Whatever. $27,000 all the way up to an insane like $300,000. Now, where will it hit? No idea. Could it peak at $300,000 then drop to below 100K? Yes, it could. Bitcoin is known for 80% retracements. So, you know, right now, again, we are in the accumulation phase. I'll zoom in again. So we are here. We just crossed the halving. So now we have a little bit of a wait. Does it show the date here? Let me see if I can find the date at all. Yeah. So we probably won't really see anything till around Christmas because it tends to lag behind the price, or excuse me, it tends to lag behind the stock to flow indicator. So that will be interesting to see what happens there. The roller coaster has started. Everyone's bets have been placed, and people are still doing what they do. Another reason I don't trade is, you know, essentially, especially with leverage, the exchanges exchanges are whales. So exchanges, if they want to take your money, they can just sell or buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin and invalidate your bet if you use leverage. So don't ever use leverage. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Unless you have an in with the exchange or something. Go for it. Whatever. God bless you. Okay. But anyway, that's the halving. I hope that covered a lot of that. Again, if you have questions, you can actually chat with me while I'm live. We'll talk about the price now. Obviously, we are down. Some whales sold the other day. We went down from 10K to around 8,600. It was a pretty sharp decline in a few minutes. That's just what happens when you have an asset that's still establishing itself. They can manipulate it to, you know, to absolution. Here we go. So here's the actual drop that happened the other day in just a few minutes. Again, this isn't retail. This is, one, two, or a team of whales just selling all at the same moment. Maybe they're trying to sell the news before it happens. Who knows? But so far, we're holding. We'll see what happens as this week continues. Retail is kind of neither here nor there about it. As you can see, we're just kind of holding even. And if it keeps holding even, then maybe we'll stay flat. And that is the best neutral scenario that I can think of for those of us who are invested. I'm kind of excited about that. Ethereum has a lot of news right now as there's a buzz about Ethereum 2.0 with the possibility of staking. This is the number 2 coin. People are trying to get 32 Ethereum right now so that they can stake the coin, which is another form of mining. Essentially, it validates itself, and as it validates itself, without using electricity and equipment, mind you, um, you discover more of the coin for yourself in the form of interest, which is pretty cool. So, and there are other exchanges that sponsor this. I believe Binance and a few others, and some hardware wallets will support staking if that is your bag. So there's a lot of buzz around Ethereum right now. XRP is down again 2.7%. Binance is down. That's an exchange coin. I have a little bit of Binance coin. Litecoin just doing its thing. The other coins are also down. Well, except for SV. Um, which, by the way, I'm not going to discount. There's a chance those two coins could run eventually, but they'll be on the coattails of Bitcoin where they should be, unless their leadership shows a less trolly nature, I believe. All right. Again, who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. Anyway, so that is the news for today, guys. I'm going to be probably talking about more decentralized finance and how to build a web to possibly build an income out of it, and also how to safely store your coins and in a way that, again, should make your life better. So again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Also, we're going to start the $10 weekly giveaways next week. So if you want to be a part of that, please like, subscribe, comment with your Bitcoin address, and I will randomly draw a person from there with their address. So again, we are back. We have the giveaway again. It's super exciting. Please support the channel, support decentralized finance, keep your coins safe. I hope you guys are safe out there with everything that's going on right now. I'm a frontline worker. It's crazy out there. Everybody's trying to open everything up. I personally think it's too early, but whatever. Be safe, guys, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.